That's how I was trained.
I hear that. Black Box Radio, we are in the box. This is the King HiM series, the first one of the year. I have a amazing guest for my first King HiM series. This is my first week back anyway. So we had a little hiatus for the after December, a few weeks. So we're back. This is my third day. And I get to sit with my brother. So I'm really blessed in that. I'm Queen. I'm from Black Box Radio. I'm a host here. And we are a media platform for Black excellence. We are here to platform Black people, talk about Black challenges and Black triumph. Everything we do is for the culture. That's what we do here. That's how we be here. Black Box Radio, please subscribe. You see all of you can look right under our faces. Subscribe to blackboxradio.com. Please support us. We're on tomorrow again with Queendom, our last one for the month. But tonight is our King HiM series. This is where we appreciate men, and especially Black men. Men are great, but Black men are dope. And so we definitely put them on pedestals. We love them up. They're never going to leave out the box without no love. So that's what we do in the King HiM series. We present men who are a blessing to our community and an asset to our culture. So tonight we have Bakari Atiba. My brother, how are you, sir?
I'm great, Queen. Pleasure and an honor to be here. You know, whenever you call, I'm going to show up. So it's just an honor to be on Black Box. I really appreciate and respect the work that you're doing and the love that you're getting, you know, and the message that you're spreading through your media outlet.
I appreciate that. I want to tell the Black Box is the backstory. How I met you. First, I met you at H.O.P.E, which is helping oppressed people excel. And then you guys came on. And let me tell you something. This Black man blew me away. I said, who is Bakari Atiba? Who is this brother? He came with some power that night, blew my head off. I said, wow, I gotta talk to him. And so it always stayed in my mind that, and this was in probably like mid 2020. And we would see each other at certain things. And I said, bro, I'm gonna get you on. I promise you come in, we're gonna sit down in the first of 2022. You're here with me. So I'm really, really blessed and happy to have you. I want you to tell our Black Boxers a little about yourself. Give us a little backstory, and then we're going to just chop it up. Tell us about Bakari.
Okay, cool. I appreciate that, Queen. It's crazy because everywhere I'm at in the community, you always there, right? So you definitely for the people. Like, I can vouch to that. I don't care where I'm at, giving out food, passing out clothes. Queen show up to help out and play a part, right? Yeah, my name Bakari Atiba. I'm a Baltimore native. I had left Baltimore for a while, went to California for a few years, about 10 years. And then I got homesick. I came back home to this beautiful city. You know, we hear a lot of bad things about Baltimore, but there's a lot of beauty in Baltimore. You know, It's a lot of beauty, a lot of rich history, you know, that a lot of people are unaware of, you know, and I just try to celebrate that and be true to that, you know, as best as I can. I'm formerly incarcerated, you know, at some time as an adolescent, you know, I went into them streets, tried to figure it out, and it didn't work. And I ended up getting sentenced to life all suspended with 50 years in prison. Wow. At 20 years old. I ended up serving 19 years and 11 months day for day on that sentence, right? Actually, January 31st is my 3-year anniversary of my release.
Well, congratulations.
So, yeah, and it's a blessing. Like, every day we wake up, it's a blessing. And it's an extra blessing for me every day I wake up on this side, you know? So I just embrace life in that manner.
Well, Bakari, let me say something for a minute. You are the pandemic. We've had a pandemic for 3 years. So you've been released the whole time during the pandemic?
Right before the pandemic. I was home not even a year before the pandemic hit. And it was a good year.
Man.
It was a good year. But you know what, Queen? I want to say something like, even with the pandemic, like, the Black community always been in a pandemic.
Oh.
And we gotta understand that. We gotta be clear on that. Like, we've always been in a pandemic, right? So for many of us, you know, it wasn't that difficult to survive. And I want to also say, you know, they highlight a lot of negative stuff, about Baltimore City, especially during the pandemic, but they weren't highlighting how you had brothers and sisters all over the city coming together, right? Gathering up clothes, giving out clothes, getting
feeding
food,
the hungry,
feeding families.
Yes.
Through the whole pandemic, like the community really was pulling together
and
supporting each
people
other, taking
outside
care
the
of
community. People came to our communities to eat.
That's right.
People would come to the Black community eat because we had set up something for our people.
That's right.
I didn't see
and
that
then
on
next
the
thing
news.
you know, other people started jumping on the bandwagon, which is cool. But I just want to say that, like, we always been in a pandemic.
Real talk.
When they talk about recession, our community always been in a recession, historically. So, and we still here and we still thriving and we still, producing excellence. So I just got to highlight that, like, we always in a pandemic. So our behavior don't change and our struggle remain the same, even in light of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And listen, that's real talk right there because, no one says that. As soon as we do something that fills the narrative of us being these bad people, then it's everywhere. But during the pandemic, I fell in love with Black people all over again. I already love Black people, but
that's right.
Over again. I saw men and women work together. I saw men support women as they were feeding. Men were making sure the food was there. They was making sure the logistics, the trucks were coming in and out. I saw the women, they set up together. They worked together. It was, you never saw anybody fighting. Everybody was respecting each other.
That's right.
It also was staying 6 feet. We was trying to be safe, but feed the people. And I saw people coming from everywhere. Sometimes you stand in line and get a box of food.
That's right.
Nobody said any, and no one came and set that up in our neighborhood. We did it.
We did that.
We did that.
Listen, we did that. I never forget, like when the pandemic first hit, my brother Antoine Qualls, founder of H.O.P.E Baltimore, right? Antoine called me one day. He like, bro, where you at? Antoine be animated. Bro, where you at? I'm like, I'm in the house. All right, look, get dressed. You know what I'm saying? I know you just got paid. Look, we're going to run to Walmart. We're going to make some stuff happen, right? So boom, get with Antoine. We go to Walmart. We put our money together. We go in there. We get a bunch of food or whatever. We bag it up. And, through our network, we just start reaching out. Like, look, calling out Park Heights. You know what I'm saying? Sisters Place. Listen, how many families you got up there that need food? We up there. We up Park Heights. We down Pennsylvania Avenue. So, but we were just an example of many men and women that were doing the same thing out their own pockets during the pandemic. So, but they don't show you that on the news.
No.
Right? Because there's a benefit. Politically, it's beneficial to highlight us in a negative manner.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not politically beneficial to show us taking care of ourselves because then that shows our potential to become self-sufficient as a community, and it starts to put an idea in the minds of our young, and they don't want that idea in there.
All day. Listen, you dropping jewels all over the place, and that's the truth. It is unfortunate that when the Black community stands up for itself, it works for itself, it takes care of itself. It didn't need security. Nobody was taken from each other. We didn't need anything. That tells you that we still have the village in us. We know how to set up a village in a minute. It's inherent. And we did it, and I saw it, and I showed up, and I made sure that I could help whatever I could do to help. I fed people during the pandemic, going back and forth. I was feeding people. I was feeding families. This is what you do when it's rough. You know what I'm saying? And it's unfortunate that we never see that, but we still in this pandemic, bro. It's just look like now it's a sexy pandemic. Unfortunately, we done got so used to it. It's around us, and we're functioning with something that we didn't even know is around us.
But see, that's the thing about us.
Amazing. Humans are amazing.
That's the thing about us as a people. So historically, that's what we did.
Yeah.
Any traumatic experience we've been through, whether it was slavery, whether it was Jim Crow and the Black codes, historically, any situation that our people find themselves in, we adapt.
Absolutely.
We adapt, we struggle, and we thrive in any situation. That's one thing about us. Put us anywhere on the earth under any condition. So, and it's important for our children and those coming behind us to understand that, because they need to know what's inside of them. Like, they're not gonna get that they need to know what's inside of them.
You better know
our
it.
Children, they need to know the power and potential that's inside of them. Because once they start doing that and they recognize and they understand that, it removes the fear, it removes the self-doubt, right? It removes you no longer walking around with your head high, right? And no matter what situation they find themselves in, they know that they can go within and tap into that power within and figure that thing out and navigate it. You know what I mean?
Straight facts. I don't have nothing bad. That is straight facts. That is it. That we highlight a lot of stuff, and a lot of times we go from the outside in. We want to keep our kids fresh, haircut, shoes, all of this. But what's inside is what we got to look at a lot of times. And there's nothing wrong with having fresh kids, but if they're fresh and they're malicious inside, what we got? So
That's
we really
right.
need children with good hearts. And
That's
they
right.
need to know their power. They need to know their history. They need to know who they are. If they knew who they are, they're unstoppable. And our children need to know that whatever comes to a Black person, we know how to deal with it. We can
That's
deal
right.
with any situation. We've done it from time and time again. We deal with every situation. And I saw during the pandemic, people stand up and do things that I couldn't believe. I said, look at this. I mean, this is just, and with no fussing, no argument. What can I do? And that's
That's
what we
right.
need. And I wish we can keep this behavior up when it comes to the school system, because we got so many pandemics
Yeah.
going on
That's right.
in our neighborhoods. So Baltimore I'm telling you, is one of the best cities out here. And it's going through a transition. First, we got the pandemic going. That's something we can't control. But then we got gentrification going. We got these politicians going in and out different seats. They're not addressing the city, I think, that like it should be, because we're trying to just address crime. But crime is let me see, it is the outtake of so many other social ills.
So quick.
Policy discrimination, all of these things that's a problem. We see crime as a derivative of that. So I always say that a society that's suffering displays barbaric behavior.
So on that note,
Tell
right,
me
one
what you
thing we
think.
understand about crime. So you're right, and that's how many politicians. That's how they win, right? They focus and they highlight issues and try to put band-aids on it, right? So for instance, crime. Let's look at crime.
Okay.
Criminal behavior is an individual thing. It's a personal thing, even though it becomes a communal issue, but it's a personal thing. Many people commit crimes because they have other issues going on inside of their lives, right? Other issues going on inside of themselves. So, when myself included, like I look at myself, I do a lot of introspection. So, I got convicted. I went to prison for murder, right? But why did I have a gun? Why am I running around the city in a gun with a gun? Why is there so much anger? Why was Bakari so angry? You
Yes.
understand what I'm saying? So
Yes.
if we really want to address crime, then we have to focus on the healthy growth and development of individuals. We have to focus on producing healthy individuals and healthy human beings inside of our community, because a healthy human being is not going to be destructive towards their community.
Boom. And that's why if you go after crime, you never win. You have to go after the social ills. You have to policy. Policy is the problem. Social ills is the problem. And changing neighborhoods, education, food. It's so many things that you have to address before as you address crime. And if you don't, crime will continue. The trauma that these young people and Black people, let's say in every age, have gone through. We see the trauma being played out every day. It's almost like a television story. They're hurting in some way, and they commit a crime. And this is what we see. We see leaders committing this atrocity to go after crime, but not change. They're not changing the state of Black people, of people, not even Black people, just white people, criminals too. We got criminals all over this country, in every color.
But
We have to find a way to change social ills, I think.
and we're talking about, so what you speaking about, we're talking about a cultural issue, right? We've had a breakdown in Black culture, you know what I'm saying, or African American culture, or you know what I'm saying, African descendant culture. Like there's a breakdown in culture. So one thing we have to understand about the United States of America, you know what I'm saying, United States was built off of crime. United States is a criminogenic society, meaning that this society has never existed without crime, and we weren't the first criminals.
You coming?
So we got to be clear and understand that. So for us, okay, so now that we identify the problem, where do we come in? Like, how do we address it as it relates to us and our communities? It's a cultural thing, right? We have to reinstitutionalize a pro-social and a healthy culture, and it starts inside the household. Listen, every community is a reflection of what's going on in those households inside of that community. you know, and it leads back to that individual or that personal development. So we really got to focus on culture. See, one thing our children don't get, school is supposed to be an extension of the home, right? When you as a parent, as an adult, there's certain things that you should be instilling into your child. There's certain things you should be teaching them. There's certain things you should be preparing them for. So when you send them to school, school is not responsible for the development of your child. School is supposed to be an extension of the development that your child is already receiving to take them to the next level.
Straight facts.
Right? And that's not happening. Like, that's not happening. Our children aren't learning knowledge of self. They're not getting self-awareness, right? Many of us young, including myself. So when I say many of us, I'm talking about myself and my own experience. Like, we become teenagers and we come into adulthood legally, right? But psychologically, we still retarded. Like, psychologically, I'm 20 years old thinking I'm a man, but psychologically, I'm really still 14 or 15 because my development was arrested at some point in time, you know, in my evolutional process, right? So what happens is many of us become adults suffering from identity crisis, right? Suffering from identity crisis. We don't know who we are, right? We don't know where we come from. Therefore, we don't know where we're going, right? We don't understand what we come from, so we don't know what we should be doing. And we figuring it out as we go. And there's all these different traps and ills waiting for us. And they know, like, our enemy know we don't have it figured out. They set these things in play. And when you don't know where you're going, any road to get you anywhere. And a lot of times for us, it's prison, it's death, it's drug addiction. You know what I'm saying? It's alcoholism. You know, it's many different things, right? And then we trying to fight from behind the ball just to get back right and start moving forward or whatever. But I can't emphasize enough, like, we need a new culture, right? We need a new culture, and it has to be based on love. And when I say love, right, my definition, I was always taught that love is when you give without seeking anything in return, right? Love is the act of giving without seeking anything in return. I'm going to give you of myself. I'm going to give you of my resources. I'm going to give you of whatever it is that I have, right? Without seeking anything in return, with the intent and the hope that you'll do the same thing to those that you encounter. And that's the basis of any culture.
Listen, brother, you coming. Listen, you got me sitting up. I can't stay still over here. You got me jumping on Bakari. You're right. You are spitting straight facts. That's what it is. We do need culture. But, you know, I was talking to my barber, and I said to him that these young people are different. And when I say that is, I think a lot of time we approach young people with the way we grew up. You know, we say, oh, they need discipline, they need this, they need that. They're not scared of discipline. They're not scared of anything that happened years ago because they live in a modern technological society where they have access to everything. Remember your parents used to tell you, leave the room when grown people's talking? They can go to Google and be as grown as they want to be. Ain't no leader room no more.
You ain't lying.
So they don't have the barriers that we had. They used to take us out and turn the TV off and we wouldn't know nothing. We have a different type of children and not even just children, young people, old, everybody has access to more information. And that access I think a lot of times we have to approach this thing differently. And we're still trying to apply the old rules to new people.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah. And see, I'm definitely outside of the box with that, right? Now, certain things, I think fundamentally, certain things can be relevant across generations or across eras, like certain things.
Yeah,
like
certain
especially
things,
when it comes to certain values, right?
Exactly.
I believe values transcend generation, era, time, whatever. But what I'm gonna say is this. First, I want to touch on how we see our young people different. Like, one thing we gotta understand is that we have had an open wound for years. And I'm talking about even before slavery, because, you know, we didn't come into this world as slaves. So even when you study our history, we were dealing with certain traumas even before we encountered Europeans, Arabs, or whoever else, right? So we've had open wounds for years that went unaddressed. And, you know, like, if you get a cut or you get a gash in your arm, if that thing is not treated, if the antibiotics is not put into it, if it's not sealed back up, right? If it's not taken care of, then it begins to mutate and it begins to transform into something else. So now you got to lose a limb. Now you got to lose something else. Like anything, any type of disease or any type of illness, when it goes unaddressed, it begins to mutate and it becomes into something else. So what we're saying is, like, we can't judge our children and the youth today because they are a direct reflection of the ills that we didn't address inside of ourselves as adults and parents. Bingo. So we got to take responsibility for that. Bingo. You understand what I'm saying? And when we see them, when we look in their eyes, like when I'm working with young people, when I look in their eyes, I can see myself. I can identify certain things. So it's like your approach has to be different, right? We talk about rap music. Like rap music gets a lot of negative image and, you know, stereotyping or whatever the case may be. But one thing we got to understand about music, you know, rap music is not a culture, but it's an expression of culture, right? So one thing we got to understand about rap music is people are expressing their experiences. Like anytime you listen to music at any era and time, like I think about how old I am and the music that was out before I was born. I see how I'm born. Right? When I start to listen to the music, my mother and father, you know, our parents, you know, they was in a certain groove. It was a certain energy that existed, and music was expressing that energy. So what's happening is the rap music today, and I'm not saying that you don't got a lot of people that's making music about things that they're not living. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, we know that even if they're not living it, somebody's living that in real time. You know what I'm saying? So the music today is an expression of our experiences.
Yeah, so, it emulates culture. It emulates.
Yeah, so we can't be so hard on the rappers, because for real, when we change the experience, it'll change the music, because now they'll rap about something else because our children are having different experiences, but they're expressing the experiences that they have.
That's it. And a lot of the time, yes, the music industry is controlled and they contrive and they put certain music in the forefront. Yes, that's true. But also, music usually emulates what's going on in your community, your life. And if you want music to change, then we got to change society.
That's right.
You know, and a lot of what we see, the killing and how men talk about women and how they talk about themselves and killing, it's because they're living it every day and they've seen it. And it's so unfortunate. So we can't blame young people. We got to blame ourselves. We got to look at a way to get to them and bring them into a space where they want to learn. A lot of times, if you inspire them, you ain't got to do much.
That's right.
But we don't go to inspire. We go to criticize.
And we can't do that. See, the best way to inspire, motivate, empower a adolescent or a child is to invest in them. Right? To invest in them. Right? If your child doesn't look at you like their hero, if your child doesn't look at you like their best friend, right? If your child doesn't want to be around you continuously, then you got to ask yourself, what are you doing? If you're not their hero, who is? And I'm not saying that, when I say you, I'm talking about your image, your character, your energy. So it don't have to necessarily be you, the person, but it has to be something that reflects you and reflects what you're feeding them, right? So it's about investment. When we invest, like, that's like with anything. We talk, everybody going crazy about cryptocurrency and all this and putting all this time and energy and investing in that, because in their mind, they think if I invest enough, I'm going to get a good return.
Yes.
What about the children? What about the children? You invest enough in them, you'll get that return. You know what I'm saying? But we can't lose faith in that.
I love that. We have to invest in the children. That's it. Listen, you're saying all I'm saying. And I really believe that. I really believe if we look at children like a process, because I think a lot of times we expect from 19-year-olds what we didn't even do at 19. Oh, they should know better. But did you know better? We got to look at what we expect, because when we get a certain age, sometimes we kind of expect young people to do things that we can't even do. When you're young, you don't have that rational ability that we're expecting from them, and they don't have lived experience long enough to be able to have enough things to source. So
a lot of times
we got to get them
out of fear.
Yes,
like that's what that be. We parent out of fear because, See, we know what's ahead of them. They don't really know or understand in totality what they face with out here in the society. They just coming into their adolescence and things of that nature. So we know what's going on.
Yep.
So a lot of times out of fear, we do too much. You know how the kids be like, yo, you doing too much. Yeah. Sometimes we be doing too much. Right. And it be out of fear. And sometimes it be out of our own ignorance. Like I've actually sat in rooms and listened to parents kill their children's aspiration unconsciously, unintentionally, because their child aspires to do something that they've never done and they have no understanding of. So they kill an idea.
Yep.
You dig what I'm saying? And we got to be mindful of that. Like, we got to really be careful of killing the inspiration and aspiration that our children have, even if it's not our aspiration, because you can't live through your child.
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying? All we can do is give them our best and allow them to come into their own. That's like, so back in 2002, when I was in Patuxent Institution, right? I really started reading. I really started studying. I really started coming into knowledge of self. I was sharing it with my buddies around me. You know what I mean? We started a study class up where we just started building. We was reading books, writing essays, right? And that just evolved over the years. That evolved into a full-fledged movement of education, self-development, cultural awareness. It evolved into discipline, manhood training, right? We ended up creating a rites of passage program for incarcerated youth so that they be prepared to be adults when they come back out here in society. So these things evolve. So one thing that I learned through that is that we could all study the same perspective, right? Yeah. But the way each and every one of us expresses that, it has to be unique because you have your own unique personality. So one thing I tried to make sure that we never did was try to trap everybody into this robotic way of expressing certain ideas, certain concepts, expressing a worldview, because we had to redevelop our worldview. We had to change the way we viewed the world. We had to change the way we viewed ourselves. And we had to change the way we viewed our community in order for us to come back out here and be assets to our community instead of detriments to our community. But the way you express that understanding, everybody not going to do it the same way. And we got to respect that. You know what I'm saying? We got to respect that everybody has their own unique personality. As long as the core value and principle is intact, you have to take that and express that in your own way. And it's the same thing with our children. Give them the values, right? Give them the values, educate them and allow them to come into their own understanding of what it is that we're giving them. And they can express that uniquely in their own lane, so to speak.
That's what's up. Listen, the application of is personal. So when you apply something, it's going to be a personal expression of who you are. And so we have to give people grace and allow young people to express themselves. And that's important. But you know what? I think a lot of times, Bakari, we learn this cookie cutter mentality. We learn it because when you go to school, they teach everybody the same way. When all the expectations for 8th graders are the same, all the 9th graders are expected to know this. We have all of these cookie cutter systems that we live under, and it's actually made us apply that to our lifestyles. We apply that to our children. If one child is good, then every child should get it. We got to look at how we've been kind of things have been taught to us, and now we're teaching it to children, and now we get angry at them when they can't thrive in that type of situation. We got to look at what we've learned from these systems.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And that's what happens with a lot of our children. The school system will hold them back and dumb them down because they don't learn in a standardized way, right? So, like, for instance, now after I had been teaching maybe like 5 or 6 years, I started learning that, especially dealing with young people, like, you can't teach everybody the same. No. Right. So, like, we used to have certain study requirements. Like, we had a list, like a curriculum of books that brothers used to have to study. They used to have to write essays. They used to have to give presentations and teach classes on these books. But what I had started doing, because I understood, like, everybody didn't understand the same thing, and everybody didn't have the same needs, even as it came to understanding their identity.
Oh, wow.
Right? Everybody's identity needs are also different depending on where they are in their growth and development. So I started looking at that. So I would sit and I would spend time with a brother over the course of 3 weeks, over the course of a month. Then I would put together a curriculum that was specifically designed to help him wherever he was at get to where he needed to go. You know,
Exactly.
and I'm saying that because that's what the school system has to do. You have to evaluate each child individually and set them on a course that's going to be conducive to them based on where they at right then in their growth and development.
You got to care though. You have to care about every child, and that's the issue. As we have selective caring, we care about certain children or people who have more resources. We have all of these blocks and how we deal with how we educate children, how we educate each other. You know, a lot of us don't know stuff that go on around us because of our place in society. So these different places in society, some people talk about stocks all the time. There's other people out here talking about the corner. You know, it all depends on where your perspective is. And
they both businesses.
You better know it.
And they both businesses, right? We
business.
And I don't condone antisocial behavior or destructive behavior towards the community. But again, right? Our situation is different. So the reality is, if there wasn't drugs in the community, for some brothers and sisters, it wouldn't have been no lights on in the house. Ooh. Right? It wouldn't have been no gas and electric, right? Ooh. They wouldn't have had no shoes on their feet, right? Ooh. So I'm saying, like, when we looking at a situation, we got to look at all the dynamics behind the situation before we become too judgmental and take certain stances.
Like, you're gonna get a pushback on that, bro.
I already know, and that's cool.
Oh, they close to you, and
that's cool. I gotta be authentic and true to myself and what I believe. You
talk about they can sell drugs because they ain't hungry.
And I ain't saying that. And I ain't saying that.
Brother told me, he was like, tell them all they need to get a job.
But see,
we don't know the barriers in getting jobs. It amazes me how we moniker that as if jobs are waiting to hire black men. Jobs are waiting to hire black women. And black women are employed more than anybody, and we have issues and barriers with jobs that other people don't. And the things that we expect from our young people sometimes are not real. They're nonsensical, because not all of them are going to get a job. First of all, when they go in and they bring their swag, and then some of them don't even know the interview. They're just being themselves, and immediately they're not good enough.
That's right.
And they're just being their black self, you know. Right. And so that is what we have to look at when we're dealing with our young people, because it's important. We got a crisis in Baltimore right now.
But see, the thing is this, right? And this has always been my approach and my philosophy. And for, brothers and sisters that know me, especially some of my, my men, I got guys that, I'm very close to that's been in the streets. Some of them still be in the streets, whatever. My thing is this. And I've always had this approach and this philosophy. Like, one thing I'm not going to do, like, just because I don't engage in something, I'm not going to demonize you because you engaging in it. I'm not going to condone it. So I want to be clear. I don't condone, selling drugs. But I'm saying I'm not demonizing this brother or this sister that's doing something that I don't do, especially if I haven't investigated what their situation is, right? Another thing I'm not going to do, I'm not going to tell you to stop feeding yourself this way if I can't feed you another way. Ooh. Right? So when we telling this brother, this sister, put X and Y and Z down, step away from X, Y, and Z, you gotta have an alternative for them, that's gonna fill the void of what you asking them to step away from. Otherwise, keep your mouth shut.
Ooh. That's it. Oh, you put the clamp down. That's it.
You got to. It ain't fair.
People, get off the corner, get off that. Where they gonna go?
What you got for them?
What you got?
Yeah, what you got for them?
You got a program, you got a workforce. What you got? Because in all actuality, they got to go home back to the trauma. They carrying trauma. So what you got? And that's what we got to look at, the whole total situation. We've been around them people for so long. We are them people. So, and when I say that is we look at the effect, but we never go back to the cause. And they are the orchestrators of that. Everybody always looking at the black people, we this, do that, but not the effects of why we this. There's a cause. And so it's very important for us to do that with young people. Like, why are they crazy? Why are they getting high? I saw these young men, they no more than 14. They nodding out.
Yeah.
Why do they feel? When I was 14, I didn't have time. Why do they have enough time to get high?
This is another thing that I understand too. Like, a lot of these, like, I know young brothers that's like 13, 14, the kids, but I know their parents too, right? Wow. And they only emulating and becoming victim to the same thing that some of their parents became victim to.
Wow.
Right. So when we look at this 14-year-old that's nodding out, it's a story behind that.
It's generational.
Right? It's a story behind that. Wow. And there's an intervention that never took place. See, one thing we're not talking about the criminalization of our children. Right? The criminalization of our children. And when I'm saying that, I'm saying this is not even just a Baltimore City thing. I'm seeing this heavy Baltimore County, especially Harford County. Harford County is going to be the next Baltimore City, right? Because you talked about regentrification. They pushed a lot of families. Like, I know a lot of people, and I used to live in Harford County at one time. I know a lot of people that's been pushed out to Harford County, and now the same issues in the city, they out there, but they doing this, right? They doing this, and they victim blaming. So we got to talk about the criminalization of our children, because what happens is they criminalizing our children young, 12, 13, 14, right? And it's Jim Crow all over again. So now, once this young brother, sister has a record, once they have this charge, now it's difficult, even when they become old enough to work, it's difficult for them to get a job at 17, right? Because they got this record. It's difficult for them to get certain resources because they're now marginalized away from resources because of this criminal conviction, right? And even when they become an adult, now what happens is you start criminalizing them early and you prepare them to go to prison. Wow. Right? Because you criminalize them, you put them in these juvenile facilities, you're not developing them, you're not really teaching them anything, you're holding them, you're warehousing them, right? You're entertaining them, right? And they begin to think like, yo, I can do this, right? Physically, they're like, yeah, I can do this. And then the same juvenile come out in the streets a little older. Now, at 15, 16, you catch a charge, you're no longer a juvenile. Even though you're 15 or 16, you're no longer a juvenile. And I can name off the top of my head 20 young men that were convicted as adults at the age of 14 and 15. You're no longer a juvenile. See, one thing about us as a people, we don't get no second chances. And I'm not taking away. I'm glad that other people have things set up the way that they do. I'm just saying we need to set up the same way, right? But when my child or your child gets locked up, they're going to jail. Right? They're going straight to jail. When such and such child, a European child or another gets locked up, guess what? There's all type of interventions. Absolutely. The whole community come together right away to keep them from having a criminal record. Absolutely. But we don't have that same. And it's only because we're not pushing the way that we need to. And I'm talking about, we talk about policy, we talk about legislation. That's what we need to be talking about. That's what we need to be pushing for. We need to stop them from criminalizing our children, because what happens is now you expose them. Even a child that wasn't necessarily a criminal but committed a crime. It's a difference. It's a difference in a criminal, right? And a criminal mentality and a person that commits a crime, right? When you jaywalk, that's a crime. Okay. When you run a red light, that's a crime, right? But when you live your life day to day, waking up, busting that gun, robbing, shooting, trap, whatever, that's a criminal. So it's a difference. But what happens is, oftentimes, some of our youth, they commit crimes and they're treated like criminals long enough until they begin to get exposed to the criminal mentality and embrace it as their own. Whoa, you coming. Wow. And this criminalization, you're right. It happens very early. It is known by third grade. They know who's going to jail. It is this, but I always say the problem is WSA. It's called the white supremacy apparatus. And it has it's like a wheel. It has all these cogs. And in the middle of it is an E for economics. So everything drops into that. The prison system, the school system, the sports system, everything every system that they've created drops into this WSA, this apparatus. And so this is why they have to know these things early. They set you up to go into these systems, and it ruins people's lives. And now we see the advent of it. The effect is more crime, because it only continues to snowball. And so in Baltimore City, we see so much. And I'm not even going to talk about the politicians and their indictments and the things that's going on. I'm talking about the regular community person. How do we change this city? What do we change this city? I think that there's a lot. I know there's a lot of positive work being done in Baltimore right now on different levels. You got You got TNAT Holistic Wellness Center. You
Yep.
got PLM. You got the We Are Us movement.
The
You
We
know what I'm
Are Us
saying?
brothers.
The
Yeah.
brothers in the streets every day.
Absolutely.
They on deck. You know what I'm
On
saying? They
deck.
bringing resources. Like, it's a lot going on. You got H.O.P.E Baltimore. You got us. You know, we directly work with men and women coming out of prison to help remove the barriers that they face so that they can have a successful reintegration into their family and their community. So there's a lot of work that's being done out here. I think more people just need to get behind it. I think that as organizations, right, and as community activists and advocates and, you know, just people that's actually doing some work in the community, I think that we need to bring more awareness to what we're doing, and people need to get behind it more. But there's so much work, even on the arts. You got different organizations that's trying to reach out to the youth and change the culture through the arts. You know what I'm saying? And creative production. You got Excellence Ambition up there in Park Heights. They got an entrepreneur program. Like, it's so much that's being done in this beautiful city. We just need to bring more awareness to what's being done. And I think we need to get behind it more. As a community, we need to start getting behind it more, right? We need to invest in it more. Cut back a little bit, you know, from your party money and stuff like that, and start. And it don't take much.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know how far $5 go?
Yep.
$5 go a long way. When
a long way.
Yeah, 20 people put up $5, bam. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot that can be done with that. You know what I mean? So it's a lot being it's a lot being done. I think we need to do more. And I think that people need to, like, and when I'm saying people, I'm saying even myself and my family, right? We need to do more to turn our households into institutions. Like, your household, your family is your first social institution that you encounter before school, before church, before anything. That's your first institution. So that means that's where you first learn your values. That's where you first learn how to interact with your peers or your family members and your relatives. You know, this is where you first understand table etiquette. Like, your household, your family is your first social institution. And I just think that, you know, as a people and as a community, we need to take that a little more serious, right? We need to take that a little more serious, and we need to have more discussions. Men need to get together more and start having these discussions. Women need to get together more and start having these discussions. And then we need to all start getting together and having these discussions on how can we further network? How can we further come together? How can we empower each other as families, which will actually create a stronger community?
Listen, you coming. And I love how you answered that question, because most people go on how bad Baltimore is, but you focused on the things that is going forward in Baltimore, that is changing Baltimore. The groups that are out here, because there's plenty of them, and you're correct, that is doing real work in Baltimore City. And we do have to find a way to be able to circumvent these silos. We got to work more together. It can't, to reach the things in the people and the young people and anyone who has issues, we got to come together. And a lot of people are doing the same things, and it'll be amazing if they can do it together. You know, they can cover more areas. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So it's like it's definitely a lot being done. Like, I coach football, right? I started coaching little league football, 6-year-olds. I got them when they first come into the sport, right?
Whoa.
And I'm with a program, Northwest Groundhog, and it's actually an enrichment program. So they're trying to use sports as a way to further develop youth into adults. You know what I mean? Literacy. You know, they already start the tutoring program. It's different things that they're incorporating outside of the sports so that they have these children all year round. Like, there's a connection all year round. There's an investment all year round. So I think that we just need more programs that are fully invested in shadowing these youth. So, like, if you start a program and you have a group of like 5 or 6 youth at the age of 9 or 10, right? I think that they need to be followed all the way into their adulthood. And certain things need to be put in place for them consistently year by year, so that when they become adults, they have options. They might not want to go to college. That's cool. Whatever they want to do that's productive and can actually be beneficial to the community, I think that we need to be able to provide that space and provide that opportunity. Also,
I love that.
Yeah, I think we need to do that. Also, I think that we need to stop running away from the hood.
You better say it. Don't make me sit up.
Listen,
Say
think we gotta stop. We gotta stop running from the hood. Like, listen, we gotta stop running from the hood because for real, when we run from the hood, that's just an example of us not being prepared or we not doing what we're supposed to be to make the hood more livable, right? So we gotta stop running from the hood.
That's
like
it.
People get these educations, you get this bread, and I know it's dangerous. Listen, I know that like our community is not in that position totally yet, right? Because it is dangerous. Like I'm not taking it's dangerous out here, right? And it's a lot of goofy stuff that be going on, right? But what I'm saying is like, especially since desegregation, a lot of our people they get resource, they get education, and they leave.
Yeah.
So it leaves a vacuum, it leaves a void inside of the community, right? I remember when I had moved to Harford County when I was like 15, when I first came back from California, there were no programs out there. There were no programs out there. It was nothing for the youth out there other than the Boys and Girls Club, and they ain't really had no program. You could just go there, hang out, chill, shoot basketball, and then later on, the Harford County judicial system found a way to start having kids come up there while they was on home detention. You understand what I'm saying? But so I'm saying like there's too many voids and there's too many vacuums. And then when you get your knowledge, when you get your skill, you got to bring it back. Like you got to keep it right there in the hood because we can make the hood strong. We can make the hood beautiful. You dig what I'm saying? Like a lot of times you destroy that which you have no connection to. Right? So a lot of times, like when your hood or your community is not doing nothing for you, how can you expect the person to do something for it? Because they don't feel no connection. They don't see no investment. So, you know, it's like, it's twofold. And again, I put the responsibility on us. We got to do more in the neighborhood. Like we got to do more in the community. The more we invest in the community, the better the return to become. And we got to stop running. Like wherever we at, regardless of how messed up it is, we got to come together, start having these conversations, start having these discussions. Strategies, programs will come out of that, and then we can start moving forward. And we ain't gotta go nowhere. We create our paradise or our heaven right where we at.
That is, listen, you have said a word because that is the thing. We get educated, we get resources, and we want to take it and live around other people who don't appreciate us, or we go to places that we really shouldn't be. We have to create our own spaces. Even like, you know, I think like if you're a young professional, find 3 or 4 other professionals. Y'all buy a house in the same block and start building up the block. Somebody else is coming. Everybody's looking for property. Build up spaces that you can actually be effectual and we can build our own hoods. We can have, and another thing, we need to look at this homeschooling thing. I have a director of a homeschool tomorrow. We got to look at where we're sending our kids for 8 to 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
We got to look at that program. That programming is one of the reasonings that we can't control them.
Yeah.
They're not learning the truth. They're not learning sense of self. They're not learning how great they are and their people are. We got to look and be honest and stop running after that bag because the bag is killing our children.
Queen, you hit it. Listen.
When
the pandemic first hit, right? And I've studied about homeschooling, like I understand the importance of homeschooling. When the pandemic first hit,
this shit, bro.
Right? When that pandemic hit and they shut the schools down, my stepson was 6 at the time. This was first year elementary school. And 3-4 days out the week, I was actually home with him, logging him on. You know what I'm saying? He needed help with certain things. Like that was I had a hands-on experience. For me, that was like homeschooling, right? But I understand the importance of it. Like, you're right. That is something that we really need to start considering.
We got alternatives.
Start considering that.
We got to have alternatives to it because we say, why we got this disconnect with our children? But we take them to somebody. Malcolm X said it. If they don't treat you right, they can't teach you right.
Teach you right.
Why are we sending our children to people who devalue them? The reason why we can't connect with them and they're so confused is because they know that this shit is some. I gotta watch my mouth. they know that it's some foolishness because kids are very perceptive. Young people are perceptive. They know that this is hypocritical. What they've seen in school is foolishness. They know that this ain't working and we're pretending. They get it. But they don't have the agency to change things. We do.
Yeah.
We got to look at schooling for our young people, because one of the issues, if they're learning to be capitalists, they're learning to be materialists, they're learning to be everything but African.
Yeah.
We got to
Yeah.
change. And if
And
homeschooling is what we need to do, then we need to set up in the neighborhood a homeschool, and all the kids in the pod and the women and the men, they circle in and out and teach these children.
And there's some and there's
Make
some
it
brothers
happen.
and sisters. It's some brothers and sisters that's working towards that. You know what I mean?
You
I know
gotta do
PLM
it.
working
Yes.
on a school right now. You know what I mean? They got the Watoto Development Center, like, and it's other little organizations.
Barbara Imhotep, the Watoto,
Yeah,
beautiful.
and they doing similar things. And I'm telling you, like that time,
Yes.
those couple months that I was home with him, it took a relationship and it even strengthened it even more. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the importance. Like, we away from our children too much throughout the day, but then we still expect for that connection, you know what I'm saying, and that bond to be there. And, you know, it's there to a certain degree, but, and I understand too, this another aspect of oppression, because we're so oppressed, it demands that we leave out the house 10, 14, 16 hours a day, and takes us away from our children just to be able to provide the necessities for them. So it's like it's twofold. The nature of our oppression puts us in a position where we can't homeschool or be here for them the way that we want to.
This is why the system, it all works for the system, that they keep you oppressed, they keep you working, they keep you away from your children, and we have this continuous problems in our community. But somebody has to sacrifice and see the gain and how it would multiply if we set up these systems for ourselves. You can't be the person who homeschool, but we got to build either a network or a pod, because you can build pods where other families come into that pod. It might be 6 or 7 kids who are familiar with each other, and there's one official homeschooler who is supported by the parents who still work. That might be the way, but understand that if we don't change the way that we educate our children, education is not going to change.
But see,
we
Queen,
have to change.
You talking about segregation?
Well,
and the reason I'm saying, I'm not saying you talking about resegregating ourselves, but what I'm saying is, when you study our history, that example you just gave, that's what it was. Like, our children were schooled by Miss Ann who lived down the street. So there's already an investment there. There's already a certain level of love, because my child already plays at Miss Ann's house with her children. And she's teaching them. So she has an investment.
There's a connection there.
Yeah. And we lose that connection when we wanted to send them into schools that we thought were better.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? But all it did, man, that programming is vicious. But on top of that, like, for those that can't homeschool, it's just imperative that, you know, you become more active in the educational process. So if you can't be there, you know, everybody can't homeschool. So stay on top of what they learning, and make sure that the stuff that ain't right or what they not learning, you got to be able to supplement it. You got to be able to counter it. You got to be able to correct it as a parent. That's a start. You know what I mean? When you get off, I know you tired, spend some time, do that homework, find out how that day went. You know what I mean? Help them better understand their life experiences, and give them that time, because, you know, for those of us that can't take our children out of schools and homeschool, we got to supplement. Like, we got to do it. We got to do some extra work to make sure that our children are becoming healthy and whole human beings.
But if we look at the definition, the history of schools, it was never started to educate children. Schools was started so they can create industry, so the parents could work. It was never a place to educate children. It has evolved into that, and then they attach money to it. You understand what I'm saying? And then now every child that comes in, they get paid for, of course, because that's how the system works. It's always the end game is that bag. But schools, the history of schools was not for children. Let's be clear. And so if you go back and look about why something started, it never changes. You got to change it. Power doesn't concede.
Well, you got to remember also, and I don't want to go too deep.
Come on, bro.
I don't want to go too deep on this, but you got to also. So we talked about, you know what I'm saying, the United States being a criminogenic society. It's also infantocentric, right? Infantocentric meaning like a society that destroys, eats up, and kills its own children, right? So We got to understand, like, look at the history. Look at the early history of this country and how they used to treat children in this country and the things that they used to do with the children in this country. Like,
if
so
you look at that, you know they don't care about children.
come
Let's
on
be
now.
clear.
Come on now. Listen, when you study one thing about history, when you study languages, this is why I like studying languages, right? Linguistics. When you study languages, each society or each culture creates a language that speaks to the things that are happening in the society. So if you want to know historically what things were going on in a society, study their language, because they created terms and concepts that explained what they were seeing and what they were experiencing, right? So when you study traditional African societies and cultures, there's certain words that don't exist in our languages because the behavior didn't exist. Orphan. Where does orphan derive from? There was no such thing as an orphan. Something happened to Queen, her children come right over here. Like, we didn't do that. We didn't throw our children away. That was unheard of. That's why we got so many extended cousins that we're not even related to. That's a part of our culture that we've carried over.
And even
you know
brothers
what I mean?
and
We don't throw our
sisters living
children
in your
away.
house alone, you think it's your brother.
Yeah, we don't throw our children away.
Yeah, we didn't do that. We didn't listen. Elderly were never thrown away. That is one of the issues too, is that we take the greatest part of who we are and put it in one place to rot. It is a European condition. No other country has done that. That's European stuff. Set up elder care facilities for your wisdom. Your children need to interact with grandma and mama them, because that gives them a different perspective. That gives them a well-rounded look. That gives them the wisdom that they can't see, that's present in front of them. That's someone who's already lived it. You need that. You need that buffer in your home or around you. We got to stop buying into this foolishness that we've learned and rethink how we are living. You cannot blame children if the grown-ups are participating. It is us. It's on us, and we got to change.
Absolutely.
That's it. Baltimore is not a bad place. It's the damn people and the policy.
Baltimore is beautiful. Listen, it's a lot of beautiful people in Baltimore. Like, you know, it's a beautiful city. And it gets a bad rap a lot of times because they always highlighting the crime. But we also got to understand, they show crime because crime is beneficial financially.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's the only
crime
reason.
is financially beneficial to the system. Right? So the more crime they show, the more fear they create, right? The more laws they pass to take you and I out of the picture. Right? It's beneficial financially. Think about this. Like, think about how many prisons in Maryland.
It's even beneficial psychology.
Listen, think about how many prisons in Maryland. Think about how many individuals are incarcerated in all these prisons in Maryland. Think about how much wrapping goes on the toilet paper that goes into the prison. Each individual getting 3 rolls of toilet paper a week, all throughout the system. It's beneficial. The person that makes the wrapping that goes on the toilet paper is eating off of this thing. Like, it's deep.
You're breaking it down. The toilet paper wrap.
It's deep. You know what I'm saying? So it's beneficial.
I'm trying to tell you, that's the WSC, the prison system. They're making money off of people's pain. The prison is an essential institution for these corporations. It is a reasoning why they're everywhere. It's a reason why we see them. We have issues in Baltimore City and it starts too with policy. Policy is our biggest problem. And the policy problem, and we look at liquor stores. You go down 5 blocks, you might see 70 liquor stores, and they done closed every school in that neighborhood. But liquor stores started with Schaefer. He let liquor stores proliferate in the city. But you see, he's the greatest mayor in the world. But where the liquor stores proliferating amongst African American communities? Everything in Baltimore has a backstory. Everything that we see happening now is a manifestation of decay, of oppression, of policy discrimination. Everything negative that you could think about, they've thrown at Baltimore. And Baltimore still rise. There's greatness here.
And you can't, like, one thing, we can't sit around and wait for other people to do it.
We got to do it ourselves.
Even with recidivism, right? So with HOPE, we didn't sit around and wait for, you know what I'm saying, legislators to make certain changes and start to recognize and understand the barriers and the needs. We started moving out on that on our own. So you figure it costs anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000 a year to incarcerate an individual, right?
Right.
We have up to 12 or 13 men that have been home, successfully employed, haven't recommitted crimes over the last 3 years. So think about how much money we saved just in our little pocket.
That's
right. So when you remove the barriers, it actually saves taxpayers dollars. But they don't want to talk about that. Right? Because it's beneficial. It's more beneficial for them to spend that. It's so much money that's tied into each body that goes into prison. Each individual is worth money. Same thing like slavery, right? That's why during once the Emancipation Proclamation came in, 13th Amendment, you cannot be incarcerated or held involuntarily unless you've been duly committed or convicted of a crime. And then what happened? Looking at a white woman was a crime. Everything became a crime for a black man. Come on now.
Yeah, we know this is an intentional effort. We're clear that America is definitely complicit in oppression, suppression, repression, anything that puts people. America is the forefront of it, and we know this, and we know it's intentional. So in Baltimore City, we see what's going on, but tonight we try to give folks pieces of different things that we can look at, because we've been doing things for so long. I think now we do it mechanically. The school system, we got to look at how we're teaching our children. That's number one. We got to look at food access. We saw it over the pandemic. We need food in our communities that are not chicken boxes and halves. We need real freaking food. Food is a trigger. Your body has biological triggers, and when it eats trash, it becomes trash. We got to change. So what I'm saying is, we're not pointing the fingers at people. We want to give you information. Listen, there's so many great things going on in Baltimore. Look for them. Check them out. Check out the groups out here that are trying to save Baltimore. Check out the programs out here. Please look into homeschooling. Tomorrow, I have a director of a homeschool, a Black Reverend. She's amazing. You don't have to be rich to homeschool anymore. Technology has met homeschooling. Be open to the conversation. I'm not saying you have to do it. I know we got to work. I know we got to take care of families, but we got to look at new ways to present to our children so we can flourish in this land of everything that's not good. Let's say that. I don't want to say anything bad. So listen, I want you to hit us with a jewel. We're at the end. Look, I could talk to you all night, brother.
You know our conversations be running too, Queen.
You're a bad man. Listen, I am so blessed to have you tonight. You have lit up Black Box Radio. I love it. It's been an honor to have you and be on the other side of the mic and talking to you. Listen, leave a jewel, leave something with the people to inspire us.
If I had to leave a jewel, it would just be love yourself. Like your circumstances, your current condition, it doesn't define who you are. You know what I mean? There's something greater inside of you. You just got to recognize it, awaken it, and tap into it. But love yourself. Don't look at where you're not at in life. Don't look at all the, so-called bad things that might have happened to you. You're bigger than your circumstances. You're bigger than your experiences. So just know who you are. Like, love yourself and just believe in yourself, because, every day that we wake up, it's another opportunity to be great. It's another opportunity to demonstrate excellence. Right. And, I'm out here. I'm currently a ReEntry and recovery coach with H.O.P.E Baltimore. We meet every Tuesday night on 811 Cathedral Street from 6 to 7:30. We working with men and women that just transitioning out of here. Mass incarceration is something that has decimated our families and our communities. So if you have a relative, a loved one, if you have a youth that's been justice involved, anything, send them down there to us. We'll work with them. I'm still out here doing my youth coaching. So, anybody that has a child, a youth that's struggling, that just needs some inspiration, we could put together a personal success plan, whatever it takes. Reach out to me. My email is empowercoach20@gmail.com. Empowercoach, IMPOWER coach20@gmail.com. Send me an email, reach out to me. I'll respond, and we'll put this work in. Like, it's up to us. We are us.
Listen, what I want to say to you, Brother Bakarie, is listen. going to jail for 19 years, coming out, and in 3 years, what you're sitting in front of me is what I see. I'm impressed with you. Our
I
community is
appreciate
blessed
that.
to have you.
I appreciate that.
It is not what you do or what you did, is who you are at this point. And what I see in front of me is amazing. And I'm very blessed to know that you are a man in Baltimore trying to work towards greater things for us. So listen, I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate the turnaround. Keep doing what you're doing. You know we're connected. We're gonna see
Yeah,
each other. We
for
out here.
sure.
We out here doing the work.
For
So
sure.
we're definitely connected. Bless you. Keep doing what you're doing. Listen, support Hope Baltimore. It is an amazing program helping people, oppressed people excel. Please support them. Men who are out here who are professionals who never been in trouble, you would benefit from seeing the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Establish relationships with brothers and sisters coming out of the penal system. They need to see, they need help, they need support.
That's
And
right.
we can't throw people away. That is the wrong way. We got to pick people up and support them. So I want to say to the Black Boxes, it's been a beautiful night with you, Bakari. You tore us
I
up tonight.
always enjoy it. I appreciate the opportunity, Queen. I definitely appreciate the opportunity. It's been a blessing as always. Your energy is always good. And I just really respect, what you're doing here.
I
You know what I
appreciate it.
mean?
I
So,
definitely appreciate it. And
yeah.
listen, we got Miss Lisa tomorrow for homeschooling. Y'all please tune in. Check out Brother
Tune in.
Bakari. Yeah, tune
Tune
in. But
in.
if you got a young man or young person that needs some help, what's that email, brother? Hit it again. I'm gonna put it in the chat.
Empower Coach 20. Yep, empowercoach20@gmail.com. Send them to me. I'll meet them where they at. We sit down. It's a family affair. We say it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to nurture adults. And
Woo!
adults still need nurturing. You know what I
You
mean?
better.
So,
That is
young or old, send them through. We'll
that
work
is
with them, meet them where they at, and try to help them heal as we heal. Because I'm still healing too. I got my own issues that I'm navigating and working towards. My own traumas. We all traumatized, but we
that's
can
right.
help each other get where we need to be at. And that's all. That's what it's about, based on love.
Wow. This has been the first KM series, guys, of 2022. We came in with a bigger bang. Bakari done blew it out. I don't know who I'm gonna have for February. They got a lot to live up to, but listen, we've had our king for a night. King Bakari, we appreciate you. We boxed up and out. Can I get some deuces, bro? Get them deuces.
Absolutely.
We
Black
out.
Box Radio, tune in. The
That's right.
voice
We
of the
boxed
people.
up and out. Peace.
Peace.